Hey, what's up, guys? It's Jordan with the Laundromat Resource Podcast. This is show number 40, and you know it. I am pumped that you are here today because today we have Daryl Zeiner on the podcast, and I gotta tell you, man, literally as he's talking, my palms are sweating. This is like an intense story of his laundromat journey so far, and he's pretty young into it. You're going to love it, I think. And he's just a great guy also. Super easy to talk to, pretty funny. And even though he is from the East Coast, I still think that he's pretty awesome. I'm just kidding. That'll make sense when we get into it. But, I am just excited about today's episode. I know that you're going to love it. So make sure you take some good notes. Before we get there, I wanted to just take a second. I haven't done this in a while, and there's a long list of new people, new members on laundromatresource.com. And I just want to welcome some of the more recent ones. So, hey, what's up? Oh man, there's a lot of them. Richard, Frankie, Tim, Anna, Calvin, Tom. There's like a lot of people that are there. So just welcome to you guys. And if you haven't yet, go over to the forums, click on the new member introduction form. And number one, just go introduce yourself there so that people can start to get to know you, and then go welcome the newbies that have come more recently, and say what's up to them and make them feel right at home. Speaking of forums, jump on the forums. There's a lot of action going on over there. A lot of great questions. We won't go through them today because today we have a lot to get through with Daryl, and I don't want to take up too much time, but head over there. There's a lot of action happening over there. Some great questions and some great conversations. Again, when we're doing this stuff together, that is when we all get better faster. So if you want to get big results and you want to do it quicker, man, start networking. And I say this a lot, but when you work with the best, you become the best. So get over there and start to meet the best who are hanging out there on the forums, answering questions, asking questions. You should be doing that every single week, if not every single day. Jeez, man, I said it. Yeah. Anyways, one more quick thing about the website. I know a lot of you guys who are members already, some of you received a spam message. I received it too. I just wanted to let you know that I apologize for that. If you received that message and what happened is a user's account got hacked and somebody used that hacked account to message some other member. So my apologies. We're doing the best that we can to kind of keep that under control, and hopefully that won't happen again. But I just want to let you know what happened. Now, I want to take a second to... I'm like very excited about this. So from the beginning, I've had this idea of Laundromat Resource being by laundromat owners for laundromat owners. And that has manifested in, number one, me kind of creating content because I'm a laundromat owner, but also having you guys on the podcast, fellow laundromat owners, sharing your stories, your wisdom, your advice, your experience, all that stuff. And that's been awesome. But I also recognize that the podcast episode may not be the best medium for you. And I know some of you guys really love to write, or you love to make video content. And I wanted to put it out there that I want Laundromat Resource to be a place by laundromat owners for laundromat owners. And that doesn't just mean the podcast. So if you are interested in writing writing content for other laundromat owners, and you'd like to use Laundromat Resource to post your blog posts or your video content, any of that stuff, obviously we want to make sure it's really good content, but assuming and knowing you guys, of course it's going to be great content if that's something that you want to do. But shoot me an email, jordan@laundromatresource.com. Just put in the subject line, something obvious like I want to help, or let me in, or something. I don't know. Put whatever you want in the subject line. Actually, I open all my emails. So, but anyways, email me, jordan@laundromatresource.com, and let's chat about different ways that you can contribute and start making a name for yourself and having a voice for yourself in this industry. I think that there is a ton of room for more voices in this industry, and I think yours could be one of them. So if you're interested in writing, I know some of you guys have talked to me about wanting to do like you're doing new builds and you want to, document that and try to figure out how Laundromat Resource can help get those documentaries. Yeah. Out there. So that's one idea. Some of you guys just want to write about maybe your experience, some things that you've learned. Some of you guys may have just some incredible wisdom and insight that you just want to share. So again, shoot me an email, jordan@laundromatresource.com. I'll probably figure out a better way to do that. So that you can submit stuff, but we'll chat and we'll get that stuff going, because I would love for more of you guys to have a bigger voice in this industry. I think it's what our industry needs, and I think you need to be a part of it. So shoot me an email. I know some of you guys are going to be interested in all over this. If writing is your thing, if video is your thing, and also not again to be a tease, but there are some other opportunities, big opportunities coming soon, very soon. And I can't quite put them all out there yet, but I'm close, and some of you guys are really going to want to be a part of this. So enough of that. Let's get to this interview with Daryl right after this.
If your laundromat is not online, you're losing business. Customers increasingly decide who to trust with their laundry by the quality of your web presence. But creating a professional logo and website that instills trust in potential customers and can be found on page 1 of Google can be difficult to create on your own and expensive to purchase through a traditional marketing company. As part of our mission to help laundromat owners succeed and find financial freedom through laundromat ownership, we are launching our done-for-you marketing service tailored specifically for laundromats. After ranking number 1 on Google with our own laundromat website and consulting with many others to help them do the same, we guarantee that we can build you a professional website that ranks on page 1 of Google within 6 months. Our joint expertise in the laundry industry and over 15 combined years in website design and online marketing allow us to offer affordable, transparent pricing for a high-quality web presence for your laundromats. You invest so much into providing your customers a quality laundry experience. Don't let anyone miss out on what you have to offer simply because they can't find you online. Let Laundromat Resource Marketing take care of your online presence so you can take care of your customers. Visit laundromatresource.com/getonline today for more information. That's laundromatresource.com/getonline, or click on the link in the description.
Daryl, what is going on, man? Thank you for coming on the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Oh, man. Thank you for being here. I could not be more excited to get to chat with you. And, over here on the best coast, West Coast,
East Coast, East Coast. Sorry. East Coast, East Coast. Let's get that straight.
Come on. Well, I cracked up. You brought that in when we did that live Q&A with Dave Mins and CLA's Brian Wallace, and you brought that Beast Coast, East Coast, and I was literally dying of laughter at that. And quick little shout out to Brian Henderson, who gave it a good go.
He did.
For the Essential Central time, and I thought it was adorable. I don't know.
It was cute. Yeah, it was cute.
Well, hey, Daryl, I am super excited to hear your story. And in particular, I was just telling you how I keep saying that and I can't say it. So, but specifically, I want to hear about your laundromat stuff. But before we get to that, who are you? Like, tell us a little bit about who you are. And then I want to get into how you got into laundromats.
Sure. I, early on in my lifetime, I was really into the trades and just decided at an early age, 18, 19, after, doing it for a couple of years, that I didn't see myself wanting to be at 60 years old. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I love the trades. I currently am still employed in the trades, just in a different, not as a physical labor anymore. And from there, just kind of transgressed into sales management. Along the way, I owned different businesses, painting business, landscape business. When I was younger, in my teens, I did paper routes, anything I could, shoveling snow, whatever I could to make a dollar. It didn't matter. But I always had a dream and an aspiration to be self-employed, and dabbled in real estate over the years, flipped houses, had some rental apartments, things of that nature, but nothing ever just satisfied that burning desire in me for my own business. So,
wow. So
kind of,
go ahead. Yeah.
No, it's just kind of what has brought me to this point, in life. It's accumulation of multiple things and lessons learned along the way.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say that, because I was just thinking about that, myself, and just, I've been reflecting a lot, start of the year here in 2021. And I've been thinking about like Laundromat resource and thinking about all that stuff. And I was like, man, you know what? It's so crazy. Cause there's like a lot of things that I've learned along the way, just doing random stuff. Like I learned how to build a website like way back when, and in it, now I built a website, and, I learned how to do some audio stuff, just recording kids, singing songs. And now there's, I'm doing audio stuff and video stuff. Like, so it's just funny how all these kind of skills kind of compile together and lead you and present opportunities for you. So that's kind of cool that you did that.
Definitely.
But you had this entrepreneur blood in you from way back when, right?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So you've dabbled in a lot of stuff, and it just begs the big question is, why laundromats? I get asked that all the time. I don't know about you, but like, why laundromats?
Yep, absolutely. It's something that never was on my radar. I've been to a laundromat a couple times growing up at different circumstances, whether I had to wash my own clothes or, dog bed or whatever the case may be. Never looked at it as a business or business model that I was interested in. Was on vacation back in 2018 with my family, and my brother-in-law came up and said, we need to open a laundromat. And I just kind of looked at him like, huh? And he has a friend of his who has 2 laundromats and was telling him how great the business is. His friend had grown up in the business, kind of gotten away from it, and then opened up another one years later. And he has been, the one thing I love about this business, the more I learn, the more people I get to know, the willingness to truly help somebody else, and not stand behind a veil and just give bits and pieces, but to open the veil so that you get a full view of what to expect and what you need to do to be successful. I've never had that before, really, in a business. So that's been one of the biggest things. But going back to 2018, it's kind of a unique blend between myself and my partners, because we each bring a different skill set, and I'm the one that's very skeptical, and I'm going to, do research till it paralyzes me, unfortunately, and he's kind of the one that, all right, we're going to jump. So it's a nice blend of personalities. And then the other partner that we have, he is kind of in between both of us. So he kind of is the teeter to balance both of us out. And he brings a whole different skill set. So it's just, that's how we ended up in the laundromat business.
Well, that middle ground, I could imagine, is kind of nice to have, actually, because if you're like, I don't know, and he's like, let's just do it, and just having that third party that's kind of in the middle to say, actually, in this instance, it makes sense, let's hold off. Or in this instance, look, Daryl, we got to jump, like it's kind of nice to have, to have that. Okay. Definitely. Well, I'm going to ask you a little bit later about partnerships and how that's been and your experience with that. But tell me about your foray into the business now. So you have a couple partners. How did you go from, hey, we should get a laundromat to, okay, you got one now?
Sure. So after we discussed it, I was skeptical because I'd never really considered the business as one viable for myself. So I started doing a lot of research, lots of research, and paralysis by analysis became my motive. I figured I have to learn everything before I can do anything.
Wait for all the lights to turn green before you go.
Exactly. Meanwhile, they had already located a facility. They had already been in contact with the landlord. They had already been in contact with a distributor. It was a facility that was closed for 3 years. The gentleman and this is kind of ironic, I'm outside of Philadelphia. They're in Florida. The previous owner of this laundromat literally grew up 15 minutes from where my brother-in-law and I grew up.
No way.
He moved down there in the 1960, opened this laundromat, or 60 or 70, opened this laundromat, and then had a dispute with a lease where he didn't want to pay an increase. So he just locked the doors and walked away from it. So the equipment was ancient. It was a more than run down laundromat, but he found it. We started negotiations on it, and we acquired it. So
wow.
We signed a new lease, I should say. And then we had the privilege of gutting the entire place and starting from scratch, which was a whole nother learning curve on many different levels.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. Wait. So let's back up for a second.
Yes.
Okay. So you're in Pennsylvania.
Correct.
And your laundromat's in Florida. Is that what you said?
Correct. That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So we need to kind of just back the train up a little bit. And I need to ask you, why did you do that? And how did you do that? I mean, one of the big questions I get asked all the time is like, hey, do I have to buy in my own backyard, or are there ways to do it, more remotely? We had Thomas Landenberger, who lives in Italy and has one in Florida also. So, I mean, I'd love to hear, first of all, like why did you buy a laundromat so far away from where you live? And have you ever been there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've actually helped in the build out, and I actually was there on opening day. So then the COVID, well, I'll explain that a little bit. Yeah, but so part of my angst in always looking at businesses was I never wanted to start something and not be able to, I always wanted to keep working my job and the business at the same time, so that I would be able to build a cushion and keep reinvesting to make it grow exponentially. When my brother-in-law approached me with the opportunity and the idea, we talked about it. I'd had partners in the past, so I know some of the nightmare stories that can be. And I learned from it, which is the thing. It's okay. Like my mom used to say, Daryl, it's okay to make mistakes. You just don't have to make them all yourself. So I finally learned that, and I learn from other people's mistakes now as much as I can. And we discussed different ideas. And one of the appeals, now we all work full time yet. So, this is a labor of love on many different levels. They worked out with their schedules that they can operate it. So it's a fully attended mat, which was not the initial plan going in. We were originally going to open up a unattended mat, and then through education and research decided that attended was the way that we should go. Hence, that's why the business partners, because I did not have the time to devote with my schedule to another full-time position, as far as getting it off the ground and everything else. Right. So I was I've been blessed enough to be able to throw some finances at it. And they had the time to put the work in. So it was just a good blend for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is awesome. I think it's an awesome lesson. There's people, who ask me all the time, like, hey, I don't have a lot of money, but I want to get into this business. And I tell them, hey, look, I think I want to say I heard this on the Bigger Pockets podcast, or that I think someone somewhere smarter than me said this. But basically you have, you got money, you have time, and you have knowledge, and you need all three to make a business, get off the ground. And if you're missing one or two of those, go find the other ones. Right. And right. So if you have money and you don't have time and or knowledge, go find somebody who has the time and the knowledge and partner with them.
Exactly.
Because you got to have all three. So I love that you did that. I love that they did that with you. And it makes, potentially for a good partnership. I don't know. We haven't gotten to that yet, if it's a good partnership or not. So, okay. So how did you, being so far away, and also being pretty conservative by nature, how did you say, okay, we're going to buy this beat up rundown laundromat so far away, and I'm going to be okay with that.
I spent about a year, honestly, a year figuring out and studying the business, learning, doing everything I could, every research that I could find, anything that I could read on it, joined the CLA, looked at the forums every day, just did everything that I could to satisfy, number one, my belief in the validity of the business. I did market research in the area, demographics. I went in really feeling as comfortable as you can opening a business. I went in with that level of comfort. Mm-hmm. Like I felt that I had done my due diligence and I felt that I knew what I was getting into from an investment standpoint. So that was what really, if I didn't have that time to do that research, I may not have made the investment. I had to be comfortable with it first. So,
right. Yeah. Okay. So you did all your research, you pushed down your little voice that said, "Hey,"
big voice,
big voice. So you put them in a closet, taped them up, and
I did shackle them,
out of sight, out of mind. Okay. So then how did you proceed from there? Did you go to Florida to do it? Or did you rely on your partners to close this deal? How did that happen?
So at that time, we had found the location. I got in touch with the landlord. Well, actually, my partner got in touch with the landlord. I got a copy of the lease that they were proposing. I went into negotiations with the company, the landlord, negotiated a 1-year free lease, essentially, on the business.
Nice.
It needed to be 15 to 18 months, but I got a year or so. We put a lot of money into the business. Like I said, we totally gutted the place. We ripped everything out of there. We have brand new electrical service, brand new water, trough system, the air makeup system that blows my mind what you need for air makeup on dryers. But, worked with the lease, got that negotiated, and then we started demolition and permitting and with an architect and everything else. So probably should have had an architect involved earlier on. Probably should have vetted the architect better. We ran into some issues with the architect and the building codes and getting approvals because the architect was not, he was not responding the way that the city wanted to for the comments. So it dragged the process on for months and months and months, unfortunately, until we even got our permitting in place for everything.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a huge, I was just talking to somebody just earlier today who, was having city permitting problems. And, so, if anybody out there knows how to navigate that, that city permitting process, smoothly, you need to come on the show. Cause I just think anytime you start doing big projects like that, you need to do city permitting, it can open a can of worms and it can be very inefficient, time consuming, which means costly.
Absolutely.
On multiple fronts. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, sorry to hear about your architect. That is a bummer. What would you have done differently vetting architects?
I probably would have gone to the city, and I may have gotten recommendations from the city of who works with them and who they like the most. Who's the quickest in getting those processes approved. Coming back, you're always going to have comments, that you're going to have to go back and forth and get corrected. But I think the city probably could have recommended somebody that they work with on a more regular basis.
Yeah.
And had a relationship with, because a lot of times anytime in business, if you have that personal relationship, it can really help on any level. It can really help ease processes, and speed things up. So it's probably what I would have done differently.
Yeah, that's a couple of really great tips. It's kind of like it reminds me, it's like really nothing like this, but it reminds me of, the whole tax system where, if you do what the government wants you to do, you're going to get tax breaks, right? It's going to be easier to work with the government. They want you to invest in real estate. They want you to invest in businesses. And when you do that, you get tax advantages, right? And what you're suggesting is, hey, I'm going to go to the city who has to approve all this stuff anyways and say, hey, who's going to help me get this approved, right? And when you do kind of what they want you to do, it can grease the wheels for you and get things moving a little quicker. So, definitely. And I love it. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead.
I was going to say, the other thing I probably would have done is I probably would have gone to city management and told them about our vision, because we were taking over something that was closed down, something that was really an eyesore and it was a detriment to the community. And we're going to make it an asset to the community. And I probably would have shared my vision early on with somebody in leadership in the government as well. That's the other thing I would have done differently.
Yeah, I think those are super good tips. Asking the city's advice for who's going to help you get things done. Mm-hmm. I think the relationship part of what you're saying is huge too, because when you walk in and you can greet, the people who are making the calls by name and they know who you are in a good way, not in a, oh, great, right. Here he comes again. Here comes Daryl, like, oh man, but in a good way, and when you say, hey, we're just here trying to make community better, right? We're trying to make the city better, and this is what we want to do. And, how can you help us get that done? I mean, it seems very common sense, but until you've gone through it, and even sometimes when you're going through it, there can be things that are just so frustrating that you can lose sight of that stuff. But it's that whole, honey catches more flies than, I don't know the saying actually, but you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Than oil. But
yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And the other thing too is what happened was I started looking at the comments. I got onto the log on and I started following the resubmittals, and we actually ended up firing that architect and going with somebody else to finish it out, because we just weren't getting the response that we needed after multiple months. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you got to do that, right? It can be really hard. You built this relationship, you've made this investment with somebody. Same goes with like an employee, right? Like you have a relationship with an employee, but they're just not getting the job done. You're not getting the response you need from them. It's at some point you got to kind of cut ties and go in a different direction. And that's hard to do, but I think that is key to be able to make those decisions when they need to be made. So good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how long did it take to get all of it?
From the time that we signed the lease, engaged the architect at the same time, till we opened the door was 15 months.
15 months.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, you're sitting right on that whole, new build timeline, and I mean, it's essentially what you did.
Yes.
Right.
It is what we did. Yeah. It's just naturally I want it done quicker. Of course. And I think we could have got it done quicker. I really do. My partners, they worked unbelievable hours gutting the place and getting everything ready, and then bringing on a contractor and working with the trades and doing everything because they did not a lot as far as the electrical and the plumbing, but they did a lot of the grunt work to bring the trades in so that our costs were reduced on the build out. So they bared a lot of that burden, and were really hands-on throughout the entire process, of construction, which was essential. I could not have done that. I wouldn't have made the investment from where I'm at if I didn't have that confidence level and have my partners there, every day. So.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I mean, that's super helpful, just not just cutting costs, but also, you want to keep an eye on your asset as it's being built, as it's being, formed. I've seen people who just, turn over responsibility to, contractors or even a GC, and stuff just doesn't get done the way you want it, or it takes a lot longer than you expect, or it costs a lot more money than you expect. And you got to keep an eye. So having those people on the ground is crucial.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, 15 months later, you're ready to fling open the doors.
Yes.
Did you go down there? What happened? Tell me about that.
Well, 15 months later was in the middle of COVID. So we thought we were going to be able to open February of 2020. Then we got pushed back to March. Then COVID really hit, and we couldn't get inspectors to come out because they weren't working, or if they were working, you couldn't have an employee or any of the trades that were trying to work around to get our final approvals done. The trades didn't want to show up because they were concerned. So from that point, it took us an additional 3 months to get our final approvals that we could actually open the door, which was just frustrating.
Okay.
And
what month did you actually open?
June of 2020.
June. So you're supposed to open in February. You think you could have gotten it before that?
I think yes, I do.
But you were supposed to open in February. It got pushed back to March, and you ended up opening in June.
Correct.
Oh.
February was pretty much when the lease payment, the 12-month free lease stopped. So the lease payment started. Then the security deposits for all the utilities, everything just mounts at
a lot of expenses.
Yeah. Didn't quite work out as I had planned or had hoped anyway, but that's, that's part of business. It's part of life.
Yeah. So. Well, and it was pretty unprecedented period of time. I mean, you snuck right. If you would have got in February, it would have been a different story, but because it got pushed back to March, it's like, you're lucky you're open now, like.
Absolutely. You're right. Yeah. And honestly, because we're in Florida was a lot more relaxed than a lot of the other country. Right or wrong, it was just from a business perspective, it was easier than if we would have been in Pennsylvania, for example, where there was a lot of, shutdowns and everything else. Not from the laundry business. Thank God the CLA really was an advocate, and we were deemed essential, in industry, but could have been a lot worse. So,
yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Okay. So you didn't open in February. You didn't open in March. What was I don't know, for some reason, everything you're telling me just keeps bringing different analogies, but it does remind me of when we were, my wife and I, well, I guess when my wife was pregnant with our son, and, it's those like last few weeks that feel like an eternity. And she was like a week late, and that like last week, it just feels like it's forever long, and it's uncomfortable. And you're like, I want to birth this baby. I want to birth this business already. I'm just imagining it being like that, especially being so far away. What was it like?
Thank God my wife is forgiving, because I was a bear to deal with. Many, many, many sleepless nights. We had, we did all new equipment. So we had the financing that was kicking in as well. It was interest only, thank God, at the start, but then the whole payment was supposed to start. It was supposed to be 3 months interest only, and then the payment. Thank God they worked with us, and they gave us 6 months interest only. Just for cash flow, there were so many blessings that came looking back, but at the time when you're living it, you're worried. It was scary times. Scary times. I'm sorry. I kind of got off track there.
No, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like the feeling of, hey, we're supposed to be open. I'm bleeding money left and right. I got rent kicking in. I got, equipment loans kicking in. I got utility deposits kicking in, and it's a whole lot of money going out and nothing coming in. And you don't know when stuff's going to start coming in, because you're waiting on the city, which,
right.
Depending on your city. Or maybe even not, depending on your city. I don't know.
Right.
Could be every city.
Could be. And that's, not only is a strain on your personal relationship, it's a strain on your business relationship. And you got to navigate through that as well, and work through it, and realize that, we're all on the same page. We're not our enemies,
How was that those months with your partners?
It's challenging, it's challenging. They're as frustrated as I am, so, and it's trying to decide collectively what is our best way to move forward. We didn't always agree. We're never going to always agree. No partnership, even, if your spouse, you don't always agree, but you come to a place of commonality, and you just agree to disagree, and what's going to be best moving forward. So,
yeah. Okay. So we made it to June, and the doors are actually flinging open, right?
Thank God. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yes. I happened to be there.
Yep. So did you go down there? Tell me about.
I went down to help finish. We were basically, we had to get a final permit yet. We had to get a final inspection. We had to get the flooring done. So I went down, and within a week's time, we got all those things accomplished. We opened the doors the second to last day that I was down there. So I got to meet the first customer in the door, and the second customer in the door, who is still a loyal customer. Every week I see her. We have security cameras up. Then I look, I watch them frequently, and I see her there all the time. And her name's Jeanette, and she is the most sweetest, kindest soul. It was great. It was like a culmination after all those struggles to have someone there. She had been coming to this laundromat for over 45 years. When she was a child, she was coming, and she's maintained it, and then it closed. And she was just so grateful that the community had this to offer again. That's another thing that I really love about this business. My partners are phenomenal in dealing with the people, because they become family, and it's a business that, yes, you want to make money in, but it's so much more than that, because the need that you're giving the community and the memories that these people have that you don't even, like, we weren't even aware of, and we didn't even think of when we picked this, laundromat out. If you want to call it a zombie mat, I guess it has to be open, to be a zombie mat. I'm not sure, but
it was straight up dead.
It was dead. Yeah, exactly. But it's so rewarding. It's just so rewarding.
Yeah, that's huge. And it reminds me of, last week's episode, Elizabeth Brigham Wilson, who was an awesome episode. If you haven't listened to that one, go listen to it. Yep. But one of the things she said that just really, I was like, man, I've never thought of it like that. But one of the things she said was that your laundromat is an extension of people's homes. And I was like, it is an extension of people's homes. That's totally a great way to think about it. And I think that's exactly the sentiment that you're expressing right now, where all this I'm going straight back to the pregnancy analogy, but like all these birthing pains, right? And finally you see, like, not just your business being born, but you see what it means, right, for this community and what it means for the people. And like, you had no idea that you were tapping into these deep roots and these, these memories that go back, since you were a kid, or before even.
Exactly.
Pretty cool. So you got to be there. I did. The first day or two.
Yes.
And what was the community's response to it? Did you get a sense of that?
Well, while the build out was going on, my partners would say that there's always people knocking on the door. They can't wait till we're open. They can't wait till we're open. Can't wait till we're open. And we were hoping that would spread like wildfire throughout the community. Word of mouth is always your best form of advertisement. We opened the doors, and the first 2 weeks were slow, would be an understatement. But we did have customers on the first day. I don't think we had any on the second day.
Oh, no.
And I had done some advertising leading up to it on Facebook and things like that. That was an area that we didn't agree on partnership wise. I felt that advertising was going to be crucial to our success, and my partners didn't necessarily see that. So we didn't do a whole lot of advertising moving into the opening. One of the comments that I put on early on Facebook was about the laundromat and its location. And I had the naysayer, oh, good luck with that. And I stuck in my crawl to this day. It still sticks in my crawl. Like, I'm going to prove you wrong. I don't know who you are. I'll never meet you. I'm going to prove you wrong. And so we opened up, and the first month was dismal. The second month was nowhere near what we needed it to be, just even cover the rent. So I'm in panic mode. I talked to my partners. We started doing some advertising. I started doing some Google, got the website. I don't remember when I put the website up, but did put the website together. And finally, we started to see some turnaround, some results. 5 months in, we were breaking even. We were paying all our bills. And it's been growing ever since then.
Oh gosh, man.
So.
I'm so glad you just said that, because I'm just like having flashbacks to my early days in my laundromat. Yeah.
I know you went through a tough time from what I've heard anyway, and what I've listened to. I can't even imagine what you went through.
Well, I mean, what you've gone through has been plenty too. So, I mean, it's just, it's tough though, man, when you're in the middle of it and you don't know, like it's your first one, right? You don't know, especially, day 2, you have no customer, like that's
none.
Panic mode. Like, yeah. Cause you just invested a lot of money and a lot of time, and man, you got bills coming in. So that's super stressful. Well, okay. Thank you for relieving some of that tension in me and letting me know that at least you've hit that break-even point and you got an upward trajectory. I think part of it too is just when you opened, you were in the middle of COVID and also the middle of summer, which, Florida, like California, we're not wearing a whole lot of clothes in the summer. I'm showing off my 6-pack everywhere, and so there's no shirts.
Sun's out, guns out, man.
That's right, man. So, So, I mean, it's just business drops here in the summer months for most of us, unless you're in a real touristy area. And so it's just a rough time to be, launching a laundromat business.
Right.
So, okay. So you started doing some Google ads, you did some Facebook ads. Did you guys do anything low tech? Did you do flyers or anything like that, or no?
We did not. No, we didn't. We my partners built some signs, and they creative advertising, I guess, and they would park. They still have them. They both have pickup trucks, and it's basically a moving billboard with our name, our address, and wherever they drive around, they park in a spot that everyone can see. When they're at the laundromat, they park it right on the road. We're at a busy intersection of 2 major roads, so there's a lot of traffic there. That was kind of the marketing that we did. Unfortunately, the budget that we had, our plan was to open while we still had free rent. We were hoping we could get open with a month to 3 months left of no rent and no equipment payment, or at least just interest only equipment payment. Of course, that didn't work out like that. But so our budget definitely changed to accommodate the demands at the time of bills coming in. So kind of multifaceted on why we went the route that we did.
Yeah. Well, and I love, good. Yeah.
I was going to say, but at the same time, you got to spend money to make money to draw the people. You want to get people in there as quick as possible. So if I could go back and do something different, I would spend money early on. It's kind of like you see that coming soon sign. Well, we did have that on our building, but people don't need to know exactly when you're coming, just say you're coming soon to draw that interest, Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, I love I love the creativity, right? Like you got to do, I don't say that as like an insult, but I mean, like genuinely, like there's, when you get hit, it's like you got punched in the face, right? Like you had all these bills coming in, you weren't even open yet. You got punched in the face, and you got a couple of options. You can lay down and not get back up, or you can make signs and hang them on your truck and park in front of the laundromat and, just like do what you can do to get people in there. And
that was all my partners.
Yeah.
That was all them. Yeah.
And that's a scrappy kind of determinism that you just got to have sometimes when things don't go according to plan. And I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs fail when stuff's not going. We all have great plans, right? Like, who is it? Like Mike Tyson or something? Yeah, I'm like horrible today. Maybe it's every day actually. But like, everybody's got a plan till you get hit in the face, and you got hit in the face, right? And so you gotta adapt that plan. And, I think it's that kind of grit and that kind of, creativity that is going to continue to make you guys successful and continue to grow your business, going forward too, especially as we hopefully are coming out of this pandemic.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Something I've always gotten through me or just gotten me through in life. In every adversity lies the seeds of an equal or greater benefit. And it really forced us to really hone in on our business model and where we wanted to go and how we could bring in more revenue. Drove us more towards wash, dry, fold, and working out the details there, which are working on growing that business. So yeah, it was struggles, but those struggles challenged us to really look at our business and figure out how we can maximize the space that we have, So yeah. It was bad at the time, but it's going to be a blessing years down the road. So
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So man, I'm like, I have my palms are sweat. I have so much anxiety right now just for the story.
Sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. Okay. So you flung open the doors, you got met with crickets, and you kind of just adapted and rolled. How did you, just you personally, how'd you make it? You're losing money. You're kind of the money guy, right? And so,
yes.
and you're just watching that money go out and not knowing if money's coming back in. How'd you stomach that?
I believed in the business. I believed in my partners. I believed that I had done the due diligence, and I knew, and I just had a confident feeling that I did everything that I could possibly do. Mm-hmm. A lot of prayer. My wife and I live well below our means, so that was part of the goal. I've always lived below my means because I always wanted to be able, when opportunity and preparedness meet, then success can happen. So I always wanted to put myself in a position of success when that opportunity presented itself. And I've lived my life that way for years and years and years. I've had failures in businesses back in my 20s, and I learned from that. As long as you're learning, if you're learning from your mistakes, you're going to succeed. The biggest successes are the biggest failures. So,
yeah, I
just relied on faith.
Yeah, I think that's good. And the reason I ask you that question is because, I talk to in coaching calls and stuff, I talk to owners a lot who, expected one thing and didn't get what they expected, mm-hmm. and I can empathize with that. And so I just think it's good for those people to hear, okay, look, there's ways out of it, and there's ways to kind of just cope with it. But I think it's also good for the people who aren't in that phase anymore to either remember that phase or just to acknowledge, hey, plans don't always go according to plan. And, mm-hmm. You just got to be willing to be a little bit gritty sometimes. And I think a lot of us as laundromat owners, but especially a lot of these other small businesses have come up against that over this last year or so. Mm-hmm. And so I think hearing how people deal with that adversity it's helpful for me. And I think it's helpful for all of us. So I appreciate you
mm-hmm.
sharing all that.
I think it made us all more aggressive. The three of us, my two partners on a daily basis, asking people for reviews, hey, please go on Google, go on Yelp, go on wherever, give us a review. If it's not a 5-star review, what can we do differently, to help that? And that perpetuated itself to draw more people in, because now there's people looking at Google and they're seeing our reviews and they're coming in and they're checking it out and they're like, wow, we didn't even know this was here again, so double down, I guess,
Yeah. That's awesome. And I like, man, I just like the image of you guys being more aggressive. Right. And it kind of goes back to the hey, you can either lay down or you can get more aggressive, right? How do you deal with a bully? Well, you either give him what he wants or you get in his face. Punch him in the face. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. And those are your options. And I think in order to make it, you did the right thing, right? You got more aggressive.
Definitely. And we're all three of us are natured that way. We've all had our ups and downs in lives, and we are going to succeed one way or another. We are going to succeed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a good opportunity, to shift a little bit and just talk about partnerships in general, and maybe yours a little bit. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about, this partnership and how you guys got together and how you guys work together, and, what you've learned about partnerships, either from this one or other ones. That's a lot of things I just threw at you, but tell us a little bit about you guys.
Yeah. I had the privilege of knowing my one partner growing up. He was a year ahead of me in school. He and I were both, I would say, kind of like-minded, where we like to push the limits of the rules, let's just say. So he moved away. He moved to Florida at 19, 20 years old, I guess. I don't know. So I hadn't seen him in 25 years. I ended up marrying his sister years later, and getting to catch up with him. So I already had some familiarity with him. And then his brother-in-law is the other partner. And one of the things that family is very, very important. One of the things that we tried not to do is discuss sensitive business where it's emotional business with the spouses, because we need to keep business separate from family, which is probably the biggest struggle, because when you're upset and you're at home, you want to vent a little, but you can't, or you have to try not to, or you need to put it into perspective. So that's probably the hardest thing with the partnership that we have. One of the best things about the partnership is all three of us complement each other and make us stronger together. My brother-in-law's brother is fluent in Spanish. He's from Colombia, so he has a different perspective into the culture, and he speaks the language fluently. I do not. My brother-in-law and the other partner is incredibly talented when it comes to mechanical things and electronics. So
handy.
Very handy.
Yeah.
So the build out process, they handled without any problems whatsoever. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew exactly what to watch for, what to correct, what to call the GC up and say, hey, we got a problem here. This isn't right. So, and the personality wise, my brother-in-law is a firecracker. The only person that he doesn't know and isn't a friend yet, he hasn't met. Next person he meets will be his friend. He just has the gift of gab. He loves talking. He loves communicating with people. And I guess because I do it all day long for a living, I want to shut down. You're like, I just want to be like, I've had enough. Yeah. I don't want to answer my phone anymore. I don't want to answer another email. So it's a blend of the personalities and really the blend of different strengths. So my greatest weaknesses are some of their greatest strengths, and vice versa. I'm more analytical than either one of them would probably say that they are. I like the details. I like diving in and figuring out, the demographics and the turns per day and what we need, vend price and everything else like that, and how to maximize the analytics, which is why I finally hired somebody to do our ads for us, because I couldn't figure out the algorithms. It was driving me crazy. I want to be on that first page of Google.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's awesome. And I think a lot of people, when they get into partnerships, you tend to partner with people that are like you and that have similar skill sets to you. And I think you run into trouble that way. I mean, there's a lot of, let's just be honest. I mean, there's a lot of ways to run into trouble,
definitely,
with partnerships. And,
yep.
And I think it is a big concern. Some people will say, hey, never partner with anybody. Some people will say, hey, never partner with family.
Absolutely. Yep.
And for good reasons, like families have been, torn apart, but
exactly.
But you did. So why did you partner with family? Out of curiosity.
A rising tide raises all ships. And if I can help not only myself out, but other families out, especially my own family, I wanted to take that chance. To me, that was more important than me investing my money into stocks or into something that, I'm going to get personal gain out of it. But if I can change 3 families' lives, or we can change 3 families' lives, I want to take that chance. To me, it's worth that chance. They have young kids. And I just want to try and make that impact, in everyone's life, not just my own.
So. I love that. Yeah, I love that. And I mean, that's coming from someone over here who, my brother and I are running Laundromat Resource Marketing together. And, we're building tons of websites right now and doing some ad stuff. And man, it's just a lot of fun. A big part of the reason I did it is, we want to help each other out, and we want, we're sitting on the beach. I don't want to be sitting on the beach by myself. I want him to be there, and he want,
That's exactly right. I got a video from them today. They're down in Florida, and the water is crystal clear blue, and their video, man, it's December, it's January. It's 75 degrees. Where are you at? Yeah. Like, you suckers. To go back to your question before, I think from the partnerships, what I've learned is, and I have a good friend of mine, Matt McHale. He has been a mentor to me and one of my best friends for 30 years. He has had partnerships. I've talked to him extensively, and I've learned from him. I've learned from my own partnerships. Open, honest communication about everything is paramount. And our distributor in Florida kind of put it in a different way, which really made sense to me too. We have Dexter machines, so we have Dexter Live. So that I can keep track of the finances and everything else. Mm-hmm. And one of the things he said is trust, but verify. You never want to go into something blind with blind faith and blind trust. You still have to, protect yourself regardless of the situation, which is hard to say with family, but in a partnership, regardless of who it is, you have to do that. And I have to be held accountable, to them. So,
yeah. And I think that that's important too, because look, life, if we've all learned anything over this last year, it's like life can throw you curveballs, right? It can throw our whole society curveballs, but it throws us personally curveballs sometimes too. And it's very tempting when you're in a situation that is a difficult situation and maybe even embarrassing to talk about, or you need help and you don't really want to ask because it's embarrassing or whatever. It's really easy to say, hey, I'll borrow a little money from the company. Mm-hmm. I'll pay it back, and really mean that. But the situation maybe doesn't get better. It just happens so often, right? So, I think, the open, honest communication and the trust but verify, I think those are awesome tips. And, and partnering with people who you feel like you can actually do that with and who will actually communicate like that with you is it. I think that's crucial, to having a partnership. So awesome.
I would say the other thing too is bridling your tongue. Never speak out of anger, which is hard, especially for me, hard to do. But I think
said than done,
much easier said than done. But I think that's paramount to success in a partnership.
Yeah. Okay, so you're on the mend. Things are trending in the right direction now. You're feeling good, better. I don't know how good you're feeling, but you're feeling better at least than you were.
Feeling better, definitely.
Okay, good. Maybe this is too soon to even ask, but do you guys have goals, aspirations to buy more, to expand into different areas? Like what are you guys doing? Are you just going to try to get this one going and then figure it out, or what?
No, we have a plan to have 9 more by the end of the decade.
Nice.
So we're already looking for our second location. We have 2 possibly picked out. We'll see how quickly that, with my one partner, I'm sure he's ready to jump, but we have to get some other things in place first for that to happen. It's that balance, and then we want to buy real estate too, ultimately, because that's, to me, that's building long-term success. And I think I don't remember what podcast it was that you did, but you did one where it explained the compounding impact of being able to leverage yourself once you have real estate tied in with your business and everything else, which was phenomenal because I listened to it several times because I got to get this.
Yeah.
So one thing I've always struggled with in my life is being able to leverage myself. Because I'm conservative in nature, I'm hesitant to do it, but I think it's key to business growth.
Yeah. And I'll, for anybody who's interested, I'll link to that what Daryl's referencing, just in case you want to go check that out too, because it is super powerful concept. And if you can get it and figure out a way to put it into action, you really have a shot to accelerate your wealth pretty rapidly that way. Right. But honestly for you, I feel like 10 by the end of the decade is a good goal to have, but I think I think you're going to blow by that real fast, to be honest. Especially if you're already looking for number 2 and you just got done, having your first baby and you're already trying for number 2. I got some neighbors who have 11 kids right next door, and you're on their path, laundromat wise. So,
well, I don't ever want to get comfortable.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So, being far away, how much time do you spend on this business?
I probably spend, if you're going to include research and following things, it's probably 15 to 20 hours a week. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't have to be that for me. I choose that because I want to learn. I'm a sponge. I want to learn as much as I can, as quickly as I can. I want to flatten that learning curve as fast as I can, so. Awesome.
Well, and again, look, I know you just got through, running through the gauntlet, but just all these little things that you keep saying. First of all, it really shows that you have done a lot of research, that you are, analytical, like you said. It shows that I hear you saying a lot of the right things to have, to just take off, right? Like you're spending a lot of time researching, you're analytical, you're partnering with people who don't have the same strengths as you, who complement your strengths. You're investing down in Florida. So when you're an old geezer, you can retire down there.
Exactly. I hate winter.
Yeah. Well, I always say, man, as soon as we kiss 50 in the 50s in here, I'm like, man, like I got to move to Hawaii because I just can't handle this cold weather here.
Yeah.
And 50s, I'm not really joking. Like that's legit. I don't know how you live in snow. I don't know.
I don't either. I'm still trying to figure out how I've lived here my whole life.
Yeah. I don't get it. I don't know why you would. There's better places. Just get out there. Yeah.
I come from a fairly large family, and I have a wonderful stepdaughter, and she's probably going to have kids soon. So it's going to be hard to pry my wife away, but I keep saying it's only a 2.5 hour flight. It's only 2.5 hours.
Yeah. Well, what you need is you need laundromats that will just, pay for those flights like once a month, and
exactly
be like, look, the cost is nothing. I'll fly you first class. This laundromat over here, it's got you covered. So
absolutely. Yep.
Keep you warm all year long.
Definitely.
All right. Well, we have a section of the podcast called Down to Business.
Let's get down to business. Over and out.
And that's where we just want to talk a little bit about the details of your business. So, tell me once again, where in Florida is your laundromat located?
We are in West Palm Beach.
Nice. Oh man, yep. You're like living your partners are living the dream.
They're living the dream. Yeah. I'm living vicariously through them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's funny. Okay. And you have one laundromat. Do you have any real estate out of curiosity? I know you said you
not down there. Not down there. I do have a rental unit in my area, but not down there. Yep.
Cool. You mentioned wanting to start getting some real estate. Yes. Are you wanting to buy it down there? Correct. Or okay.
Yeah, down there. Yep.
Yeah, cool. And you've been, I try to ask people how long you've been in the business. That's kind of a complicated question for you.
Typically
a couple of years or
a couple of years,
months.
Depends on how you want to look at it. Exactly. Yeah. Both.
Cool. Yeah, both. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So cool. Well, tell me, what does it cost to do laundry in West Palm Beach?
We have 20, 40s, 60s, and 80s, and we're at $3, $5, $7, and $9.
Just flat. I like that.
Yeah. We're preparing ourselves for our next store, which will be a dollar store.
Dollar coin. Yeah. Good. And if you don't mind sharing, I know you're still early on and you're still building that business, but can you give us like an idea of like what kind of turns per day you guys are doing?
Sure. Just in walk-in customers, not in wash, dry, fold. We're over 3 turns a day.
Nice.
So we're getting to where I want to be. We're not there yet, but we'll get there.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, I'm glad you said that too. I just, there's just so much anxiety in this episode of just like feeling the pain that you're going through. And, to hear that you're up over 3, I'm feeling a little better right now. And so are you doing a lot of like drop off stuff right now?
It's building. It's really building. We're starting to do more commercial. We're getting commercial drop offs, and we have a steady clientele of people. And it's funny because they each have their clientele, my partners. Some people will drop off only when one's working. Some will drop off only when the other one's working. And they're like, if they switch shifts, they're like, no, I want, the other one to do the laundry. Cracks me up, but they build those relationships even in the drop off, So
that's beautiful.
Yeah. So it's grown.
Yeah. So what this isn't really part of the Down to Business, but you know what? I can do what I want. Right. So, and you guys will all listen to it because I'm curious. Man, I'm dictator over here today. How have you been growing the drop-off service? Because you're growing from scratch, right? Because It's been closed forever.
Correct.
And so how did you get that started?
I was doing a lot of targeted Google ads, specifically for drop-off. And I think that's the thing, which I know it's been mentioned numerous times on your podcast. The 2 businesses are unique from each other. Mm-hmm. You don't advertise for one because the emotions, the wants and the needs and the desires are different for one versus the other. So it's 2 different marketing campaigns that I run, specifically designed, one for wash, dry, fold, one for drop off. One for coin laundry. And then there's also another segment specifically for commercial wash, dry, fold. So
are you running targeted ads for residential and commercial, and are you doing them separately, or do you have
Correct.
One? Okay.
Separate.
Awesome. Yep. So most of your businesses come through Google Ads.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. We have, my one partner is dogmatic. He set a goal that he was going to get so many reviews by Christmas. And the last week I was dogging him. I'm like, you're going to come up short. And he pulled through and he got that number. So, yeah. That's awesome. The majority of what we're getting down there is definitely Google driven. Yelp, I spent a fair amount of money on Yelp early on. I did not see the results. I didn't like it. Facebook ads, I did a fair amount with Facebook ads, and I used to sing in a band. I used to promote our band through Facebook. So I'm pretty know how to target the market, and just didn't get the response that I was looking for as far as my return on the investment. Google has definitely been the best for us at this point.
Awesome. Yeah. I was just curious because, I think a lot of people are kicking around the idea of starting drop-off services, starting pickup and delivery services. And it can be a little bit daunting trying to start that from scratch. So I'm always,
we're refining our processes. We're going to be looking at adding a system in place, to help us track better, to help accountability, give a better perception to the customer. So there's things in the works, but we want to build up to that. So,
yeah. Awesome. Okay. All right, man. Okay. I'm glad you're over 3 turns per day. We got that. Are your partners, you said they have jobs, right? Are they?
Yes, they do.
So they're working at the laundromats and they're working their jobs.
They are putting in sweat equity. And what we want to do is we want to get them to the point where the business allows them to take a step back. We can hire employees and then they can work on building the business instead of working the business.
Love that.
So that's the goal in the next several months.
So are they doing like split shifts? Are they working mornings, evening? Well, how is that working out logistically?
It all depends on their schedules. Their schedule, they each have different schedules, and we've been blessed where it's worked out for them to this point, for us to this point. There has been occasions where somebody hasn't been able to cover and we'd have to bring in somebody else, to fill in for a couple hours. But so far it's working. Now that's a short-term solution. It's not a long-term solution. It's just what was dictated to us with COVID and with business, the growth of where we're at right now.
Right. Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's
you go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No.
That's why we're really focusing on wash, dry, fold, because that's going to give us the ability to pay for those attendants without affecting anything else. And then we'll still have the store maintained and manned or attended the whole time we're open.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, and that's that kind of that creativity, that grit that we were talking about earlier, right? Like just got to do what you got to do when you get punched.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So you referenced dollar coin earlier, but are you a coin only store?
We're quarter right now. We are going to probably start with Dexter Pay in the very near future. I did a lot of research on it. Some people, it seems, had a bad experience just if you go on the Google reviews. But I think after talking to numerous people, I think what that really was is maybe they were unattended stores and people weren't educating the people on how to use the app properly. Mm-hmm. So they walked away with a bad taste in their mouth. I've looked at the product. It gives you a lot of flexibility without adding the cost of a card reader. So we already paid for the system. Yeah, but there's a transaction fee, but we don't have to reinvent the wheel. So,
right. Yeah. Cool. I like that. And I know that there's more and more people using Dexter Pay. So that's awesome. Yep. And I already asked you how much time you spend on that. How much time do you think your partners are spending on the business?
Oh, gosh, a lot of time. Yeah. Too much at this point.
Yeah.
We need to get them out of there as quickly as possible, which is why we're focusing on getting our, the wash, dry, fold built up as quickly as possible so that they can, number one, have a life, not be a detriment to their families, and be able to build on the business, growing the business, not working in the business. So,
yeah. I think, that's huge. All right. We got another section called Secret Sauce.
Nice.
Listen up. It's the secret sauce.
What is something that's working for you right now in your business that you think maybe other owners could implement into their businesses to help their businesses grow?
I would say for anyone that's attended, number one, I know there's pros and cons to unattended versus attended. For us, attended makes sense. That's the business model that we're going to pursue. Customer service, doing the little things, getting to know the people's names, opening doors for them. If you see them walking in, carrying a wash basket out, anything that you can do to make their life getting in and out and then inside the mat any easier, you do it. If they leave, this may be controversial, but if they leave, a lot of times my partners will take their laundry, they'll put it in the dryer and they'll dry it for them so that when they come back, that way the machine isn't tied up, but yet they can get back, their washer or their clothes are dry and they just pay us for the dry, so maybe charge a little extra if they want to give a tip or something, they do, but it's the little things that really knowing the customers, knowing how you can serve them better, I think is key. I think I honestly believe that is the number one key to our success at this point, because word is spreading like wildfire now that we have a clientele base.
Yeah, that customer service. I mean, it is key, and it kind of goes back to that whole, it's an extension of their home, right? Yep. Is you just want them to feel comfortable and want them to feel known, want them to feel cared about. And, that's what customer service is, right? It's just making people feel known and cared about and wanted, and
here's a little tip too that my partner came up with, because when we were looking at the square footage of the store is only about 1,800 square feet. And we minimized machines. We had it jam packed. We were like, this isn't going to work. We need folding tables. We need, different things. So we backed off the number of machines. And we were like, what are we going to do with seating? We have folding seats. Instead of taking a hard plastic mount that's going to take up a fixed space, we put folding tables all around those. And the customers love it because they can take the seat, they can put it right in front of their washer, their dryer, and they can just sit there and do whatever right in front of it. It works out great. And I would have never thought of it. My partner was like, simple solution. And it's been phenomenal. but something I would have never thought of.
Yeah, just like folding chairs.
Folding chairs. That's it. I
was like picturing something like mounted to the wall that folds down or something. But
no.
Like,
folding
grab
chairs.
a folding chair and plop it where you want to plop it. Just stay out of people's way. Yeah,
exactly. Oh. Yep. Easy to wipe down afterwards. Right now with COVID, when they leave, we're cleaning the store constantly. So, but it just another way to utilize space in an effective manner.
Yeah, that's an awesome tip. I like that, especially for those smaller laundromats that. Again, that's more of like an attended, store.
Definitely. Oh, without a doubt.
I've had full on benches bolted to the ground, literally, that somehow walked off. I don't know, man. People are creative.
and the poor gumball machine.
Yeah. Oh gosh, man. My poor son. He's been a little gun shy to get back into the gumball business, but
understandable.
Okay. Well, hey man, awesome secret sauce. And I think that those are things that everybody can utilize. And even if you are an unattended store, you can still focus on customer service. It may not be direct face-to-face customer service, but thinking of little things that you can do to make the customer experience better, to make things easier for the customer, to keep things cleaner, to keep things safer, all of those things, I would say fall into that category of customer service. So even if you're not an attended store, you can still think about customer service and making your customers have a good experience at your laundromat. So awesome secret sauce. We got another section called Pro Tips.
Pro Tips.
What's one piece of advice you'd give to somebody who is not too far behind you, maybe, who's looking to buy their first laundromat? What advice would you give them?
To buy their first, I would say due diligence and vet people out.
What do you mean vet people out?
Like I mentioned, if you're going to if you're doing a new build, make sure that you understand exactly who you're hiring. Get references and check the references. Don't get lazy in your due diligence, and don't make assumptions.
Yeah. I think the checking references is kind of a funny thing because I feel like a lot of jobs that I applied for kind of along the way, I'd give references and I'm like, do people just want to know that I have references? Cause I'd ask people like, did they ever call you? And they're like, no, nobody ever called me. I'm like, all right. Well, probably better for me, but for them, I don't know. Awesome. I mean, I think the due diligence piece is huge. Obviously, you want to know what you're getting into and you want to know that it's a good fit for you and you want to know that it's going to be what you think it's going to be. And, it probably never will be exactly what you think it's going to be, as you found out in a fun way. But, having a good understanding. And I think your research probably allowed you to pivot and to endure, when things didn't go the right way.
Definitely. And the other thing too, naturally, is the lease. I mean, that's the cornerstone of your business. If you don't have a good lease, you're done,
Yeah.
So
do you have any tips for how does somebody who's new know whether they have a good lease or not?
I would probably go to, I know through my research, I found out that there's different people, especially if you're going to do financing. The quality financing people will want to see your lease ahead of time before you sign it. They have experience with seeing it, reading it, knowing the legal verbiage that's in it, and helping you to avoid some of those pitfalls. Or find somebody, have a lawyer review it, whatever the case may be, but make sure it's one that understands not just commercial property, but laundromats in general, because of the long-term nature of the lease and the commitment that you're making in the equipment.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. And I think it's tough to find a lawyer who's got that experience.
Yep.
So actually, if anybody knows of a lawyer that you've used maybe who understands not just commercial leases, but also the laundromat business, hey, maybe shoot me an email introduction, jordan@laundromatresource.com. And, it'd be good kind of resource for people to have. And so when that question comes up, I'll have somebody to send them to. So let me know. Awesome pro tips. Our last section of the podcast, we call recommended resources, and we are Laundromat Resource. So do you have any resources that maybe you'd recommend to help people either get into the business or to grow their business or themselves personally?
Absolutely. I think with today's technology, you're at a far more advantage than you were 20 years ago because of podcasts like yours and other people out there. Ken Barrett has YouTube videos that I read or that I looked at. Dave Mentz has his thing. CLA. Make sure you remember his CLA. There's just so many different things. If you want to get educated, there's so many opportunities to be able to do that if you're going to be willing to invest the time. Some of the books that I've read, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, by Robert Kiyosaki, was a phenomenal book that really helped me change my mindset on a lot of things. Peak to Peak Principle by Robert Schuller. It's interesting because it talks about a mountain and you get to the top of the mountain, you see the peak of the next peak, but then you still got to go through the valley and you're constantly growing. I've read so many different books, over my lifetime for self-improvement. I think any quality book that you can get to read to work on yourself and invest in yourself will pay dividends throughout your lifetime. I would highly recommend become a reader. And I hated reading when I was younger. So
yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I'll actually link all those Ken Barrett's YouTube. I'll link Dave Laundromat Millionaire Men's YouTube and CLA, and I'll put links also in case you're interested. If you haven't read Rich Dad Poor Dad, you just have to, love it or hate it. It has just shaped so many investors and business owners and their way of thinking that you just can't ignore it. Right. And there's naysayers and haters out there, and that's fine, but you just can't ignore the impact that it's had on so many people. So if you haven't read it, read it. I'll put a link below just in case. You could probably find it. PDFs floating around for free too, if you need to.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is another one.
Yeah. I have never read Peak to Peak, so I'm going to put that one on my list. I do a lot of reading too. I'm another one who did not like reading. In fact, this is not an exaggeration. This is kind of embarrassing, but I don't think I read an entire book until late into college. I did not read an entire book all through high school. I just got really good at getting the gist of it and being able to so really embarrassing. But now I read 50 to 60 books. And I tried to cut back last year, and I look back and I read 40. So I did, but I
don't think I read a book in high school. I didn't go to college, so I know I didn't read one there. It was in my early 20s though when I started reading self-improvement books. So
yeah. So I've read a lot, but I've never read Peak to Peak. So I'm gonna check that one out. Looking forward to it. Thanks for that recommendation.
You bet.
A lot of good recommendations, actually. Well, I got one more question for you. If people want to get in contact with you, maybe ask you some questions, hear a little bit more about your story. Thank you for coming on the podcast, whatever, prank call you. I don't know, whatever. What's the best way they can get in contact with you?
They can email me at Palm Beach Lakes Laundry at gmail.com. They can check me out on Facebook on my Facebook profile, LinkedIn. Those are probably the easiest ways of getting a hold of me.
Cool. And I'll put links to all those things in the description if you're on YouTube, or in the show notes if you are listening to the podcast. Daryl, you, sir, I just have a lot of respect for you, and we've never talked before this. I mean, we've chatted back and forth a little bit about Best Coast, Beast Coast, and we shot a couple of emails back and forth, but this has been truly an honor and a privilege to have you on, to hear your story. Thank you so much for sharing. I think it speaks so much when someone's willing to stand up and share their real story, right? The story with the pain, with the ugliness, with the financial stresses, and also, some of the victories and some of the lessons learned and all of that. And, you're a super genuine guy. This was a ton of fun. I learned a ton. I have a whole page of notes, and I learned a lot, and I know a lot of people are really going to love this. So thank you so much for coming on this podcast.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for the opportunity. Like I said, if I can help one person with one idea, it's all worth it.
Yeah. So. Well, I know you're going to help a lot more than that. And so really, appreciate you, and looking forward to hearing about, your next 10 that you'll probably have in the next 3 years, not 10 years. So.
Thank you.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. All right. I don't know about you, but I mean, legitimately, I had like anxiety issues during this episode. I was just really feeling Daryl's pain as he was going through this process of shelling money out, and not only not seeing any money come in, but even after he flung open the doors, there was no money coming in. That's like a kick to the gut, and I was feeling his pain. But I'm glad that things have turned around. He's doing better, and he's already looking for his next laundromat deal. And man, what a trooper. Awesome. Ton of wisdom. Again, every week I encourage you, pick one thing that you can put into action into your life this week. And when we start stacking those on each other, watch how far we go. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've been trying to put stuff into action, and I feel like I'm making leaps and bounds in my business, in my laundromats, and in just my personal life too. So for me, one takeaway that I took away, there's a ton of stuff to take away, but one thing that I took away was this quote I wrote down. He said, "Every adversity holds the seed to an equal or greater opportunity." And I know so often for me, it's really easy when things do not go the way that I want them to go according to plan. It's easy to focus on that adversity and not see the opportunity in that adversity. So for me, my go-to thing this week is going to be look for opportunities in all the adversities I come across this week. I don't know what it is for you, but hey, pick something and put it into action this week. That is how you are gonna, I say this all the time, action paves the way to success. So put it into action, and let's skip down that yellow brick road to success by paving the way with action. All right, enough of that. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. I cannot wait until next week's episode. We will see you guys then. Peace.